Ramesh is a farmer who has spent his life working the fields of his rural village, saving every spare rupee to send his son, Vikas, to college in the city. Recently, a new government agriculture scheme seemed like the perfect lifeline to finally cover those tuition costs. But on his way home from the bank, Ramesh stops to recharge his mobile phone at a local shop run by a young man named Madhav. In friendly passing, Ramesh mentions exactly where he's been, proudly sharing that he just enrolled in the new government subsidy. A few days later, Ramesh receives a phone call from someone claiming to be a district agriculture official. The caller knows about the scheme and tells Ramesh that to finalize his enrollment, he simply needs to read back a verification code that was just sent to his phone. This is the mechanism of OTP deception. As you can see on this flowchart, the fraudster initiates a sensitive request with the bank. The bank sends a temporary one-time authorization code directly to the account holder. By convincing the victim to read those numbers aloud, the target provides the final signature that validates the transaction, effectively handing the scammer full access to the funds. Ramesh reads the numbers out loud. Minutes later, his phone lights up with a text message in English, a language he struggles to read. When his son Vikas translates it, the reality sets in. 80,000 rupees have vanished from their account. The shock is paralyzing. For a family living season to season, losing that kind of money is devastating. But there is a unique psychological terror to a crime with no physical break-in, no broken locks, and no visible thief. Rural communities have been rapidly integrated into modern digital banking systems, but often without the accompanying digital literacy required to navigate them safely. This creates an environment where a family's life savings are protected by nothing more than their ability to spot a deceptive phone call. The very next morning, Vikas and his father rush to their local bank branch. They plead with the teller to reverse the transaction, but the bank explains that because the OTP was authorized from Ramesh's device, the system views the transfer as legitimate. The bank cannot simply pull the money back. There is a strict legal protocol for victims in this scenario. They must immediately file a formal report with the local police. This step is crucial because it officially activates the regional cyber cell and legally freezes the clock, allowing authorities to begin tracking the stolen funds. This is how the cyber cell tracks the digital footprint. The scammer splits the stolen funds, bouncing them through a chaotic web of secondary accounts. Investigators quickly discover the endpoint accounts belong to deceased individuals. By routing cash into dead accounts, launderers erase the trail. When high-tech digital tracing runs headfirst into advanced money laundering tactics, institutional tools reach their limit. To recover the money, investigators, and victims like Vikas, have to stop looking at computer screens and start relying on human intelligence. Vikas refuses to let the trail die. He starts asking questions around his own village, and soon meets Radhe, another local farmer who just lost 60,000 rupees to the exact same agricultural department phone scam. Gathering a small group of victims together, Vikas identifies a clear pattern. Every single person who received the fraudulent call had recently submitted an application for the exact same government farming subsidy. The scammers knew their names and their specific applications, which suggested the leak came from within the village. As the farmers compare stories, they realize every victim had visited Madhav, the trusted local shopkeeper, to recharge their phones shortly before the calls began. Armed with this local intelligence, Vikas heads straight back to the local precinct. He presents his findings to the inspector, proposing a physical trap to catch the informant in the act. The plan is straightforward. Another local farmer, Gudu, agrees to act as bait. He walks into Madhav's shop and loudly boasts that he just enrolled in the subsidy program and expects a massive government payout on his phone. Cyber syndicates rely on distance and anonymity to operate safely. But by turning the scammer's reliance on community trust into a vulnerability, victims can collapse that distance and close the loop in their own backyard. Gudu executes the plan perfectly. After making sure Madhav hears all the details about his fabricated government payout, Gudu leaves the shop and meets up with Vikas and undercover officers waiting at a nearby tea stall. The bait works immediately. Within minutes, Madhav abruptly closes up his shop in the middle of the afternoon. He slips away through the village streets, retreating to a small, isolated house to coordinate the next attack. Inside the hideout, Madhav relays Guru's details to his partners. Guru's phone rings. It's the fake agricultural official, asking for an OTP. What Madhav doesn't realize is that the police have tracked his movements the entire time. As the fraudulent call takes place, the police raid the house. Detach Madhav and his accomplices red-handed, devices still active, ending the criminal operation right there on the floor of the hideout. This physical arrest is the critical bridge. It takes a seemingly invisible, high-tech digital theft and grounds it in tangible, real-world justice. Because the perpetrators were caught locally, and because the victims filed official police reports immediately, authorities are able to trace the localized funds and successfully return the stolen money to Ramesh and the other farmers. Madhav and his accomplices are sentenced to 7 years in prison. The conviction proves that the local justice system is entirely capable of handling digital fraud when given the right evidence. Rural cybercrime thrives on 2 things: technical deception and the victim's own silence. While scammers exploit a lack of digital knowledge to bypass security, they rely on the victim's shame to ensure the crime is never reported. Protecting personal banking data and keeping verification codes private will always be the first line of defense. But when those defenses fail, abandoning the shame and swiftly reporting the theft to law enforcement is the absolute required mechanism to recover the funds and dismantle these cyber syndicates.